running very high on the water. And as I've ranted about many times, this pond here, whoever built it, didn't build up the berm on the side of downslope, the natural outflow of this place. So all of these plants right here are growing on material that I put in last year. If we look around in here, it's hard to see it now, but like down in there, you can see it's kind of gravelly. That's not the local soil, that's gravel that I put there. And that sort of same here. This is soil that I heaped up along here that then the plants helpfully colonized and stabilized. And that, for most of the year, managed to keep us under over the top flow. So it's been seeping out of there. Okay, that's tolerable, but having it flow over top like this is not that great. Fortunately, it is flowing clear, so it's not gouging away the material that I've put in. We're seeing a nice clear flow out of here. So everything's apparently nice and anchored by the plants. Thank you very much, plants. But this surface sheeting flow is really concerning. So gonna try to fix, well, I'm gonna try to add material to this over time using the berm right here, which they just heaped up on the wrong side. Go figure. But for the moment, I think that I can have some impact by going around to the inlet side of this. There's a drainage, the biggest drainage on the property runs east-west, right back here. And so I did come out a little bit and clean out some of these reeds and whatnot. I don't know that they're reeds, some kind of aquatic plant that are growing in this channel. Earlier in the season, I was hoping that that was going to be sufficient, but it is proving not to be. So the issue that we have is this inlet. When the water is running this heavily, this is a couple inches higher than the berm on the other side. So my hope is that I can excavate out part of the bottom of this channel to deepen the channel and maybe get the top of that flow to be a little bit lower, especially if I clear over there where it's going through the culvert. Hopefully it'll drop down a little bit, and then I'm going to take some of my stacking rocks. I'm collecting rocks all year to have fun practicing dry stone walling, but some of those are going to go in here, and we're going to just try to make like a leaky weir kind of situation just to see if we can slightly reduce the flow into this by putting some rocks here, maybe putting some vegetation, and just keeping that water flowing across the property instead of into the pond and then onto the rest of the property. So we'll see what we can do to that effect. I'm going to set up the tripod and bring you along for that. Time lapse didn't go quite as well as I had hoped. It cut off at some point for reasons unknown, so I'll have to look into that. But we've got a decent foundation of rocks here. it's going to require bringing some gravel over to make it actually slow this flow down a little bit, but just going to work a little bit on getting this material out of this channel so that hopefully it'll just drop down a little skosh right here, and might try even seeing if I could pile some of that material up along my rocks here and reduce that flow a little bit. We'll see how it shakes out. Okay, so here's where we are after sort of clearing a little bit of the vegetation out of the channel and heaping it up on the rocks. Surprisingly effective. There's certainly some subsurface flow going on, but if you look at the surface of the water, not really a ripple to be seen over on that side, which is heartening. The next step is probably going to be to get some gravel and put it in along this side and let it get pushed in there to fill in some of those rocks. And I might look at coming along here with a shovel and putting a bend where this is relatively sort of flat here for a ways, bringing this out this way and then putting that material along my new little rock and debris wall here, and sort of try to direct some of this flow away from it and out a little bit further. And then, you know, if I'm digging this material up, it's going to have a pretty significant clay constituent by the time we get down into the soil here. And so some of that, again, will be entrained by that subsurface flow into the pond and hopefully just gunk things up, clog it up. Yeah, it turns out heaping a bunch of organic material, surprisingly effective. I guess beavers know what they're on about. Let's go look at the other side here. This would be an optimal time for me, now that I'm carrying my phone, to fall into the water here. Folks who have been following along will have seen me almost do that multiple times. I had a real good one. I don't think it was captured on the initial early terminated time lapse where I was out walking on the rocks and one of them slipped and I almost went into the pond, which would have been pretty funny. But yeah, so we can see here, there's our rocks, and it goes all the way across with some pretty big honking rocks. Some of these, probably 50 to 100 pounds, about the limit of what I can carry all afternoon up and over the berms. But if we look over on this side, pretty still. You can see a tiny bit of debris sort of meandering around. That might actually be a bug moving there, but not moving at a very rapid clip. No noticeable flows. Whereas over there, it's jamming, and it was really flowing in here when we started today. So hopefully that should just reduce the quantity that's flowing out on the other side and allow the drainage on the property to actually effectively move that flow without it washing over the road and all of that pulling everywhere. And then if it's sunny again anytime soon, I can come out here and put some gravel in and maybe really get this settled once and for all. So we're on day 2 of efforts to relieve some of the overflow of the pond, and we didn't get any substantial rain last night, which is nice. It's still pretty wet out here, but yesterday it was flowing across this. And just by ear, I can hear that we still have pretty substantial flow back there, but it looks like we don't actually have substantial flow out of the pond. So might have actually been more successful yesterday than realized with our little damming project, which is nice. Still got some good squidges here, but I'm not seeing flow out of the pond. We have returned to seepage, which is where we want to be. We will build this up over time, but if it's only seeping and not flowing, I'm a pretty happy camper here. So let's go around the back and see what we see over there. The idea here is we used the big rocks to form a foundation, and now we've put a bunch of biological material on top of the big rocks. So there's rocks all the way under this, multiple layers actually, and then that's going to anchor everything in place. Now we've got this biological material here. It's kind of going to make sort of a webbing or a matrix to hold the finer particles in place. We put the gravel on, leaning a little bit towards the outside, and hope that to the extent that water is flowing into the pond underneath, right? So we can see it's not overtopping at all, but it's pretty likely that underneath there's a continuous flow going on of water just through the big rocks, right? It's not a tightly set up situation, and we didn't scrunch down any of this organic material into all those gaps. But if we can get some of the smaller gravel and sand particles sort of entrained in that water flow, pulled in there, and then they get stuck in various places, we can sort of start to actually fill this in and make a less water permeable situation here, make an actual barrier. But we don't have that surface flow. I can't tell if this is working as an actual like dam, like if that side is actually higher than this side appreciably. I'm gonna go ahead and assume no, but at the same time, we don't have flow on the other side, and this water level, to my eye, looks like it's the same that it was yesterday. So maybe it is working a little bit. What we actually need is centimeters of change in the water level in the pond for the flow to be reduced. So we may have done enough, but we're going to do a little bit more and try to make this just a bit of a more durable barrier here and change this flow, hopefully permanently. And then at some point, when things are dried out here, we can come back and put a pipe in. If we can get this to be a full barrier, then we can put a pipe in that only brings the height up to a certain level, and even put like a bendable L on it, so that we can make it so that it flows when we want to fill the pond, and then when we don't want the pond to fill, we just turn that L up and the water just flows on by. That's the design vision here. I'm really quite surprised that this is working this well. Something that's been in the back of my mind to come out and tinker with for ages, and it just sort of seized my attention yesterday. And so it looks like, well, the sky is a little bit ominous, so I don't know how much time we're going to have before the rains kick back off again, but I'm going to try to get a fair bit of work done this morning, and we'll see where we end up. We've got our gravel staged by our berm, and gonna try to bring you all along for this reinforcing adventure here. It's very chilly. It's like 35 degrees out right now, so I'm gonna try to stay drier than yesterday because I don't have the benefit of the sun. It was a balmy like mid-40s yesterday, so ideally not gonna go in the drink, but we'll see how this shapes up. Okay, so here's a quick little morning's effort. We can walk across it now. I think it's actually a worse dam than it was when I got here, in that I disturbed some of this organic material to give myself access to the underlying rocks so that I could fill in between the rocks with the gravel. And the organic material was doing a better job of keeping flow back than the gravel is doing, which is not actually a problem, because we are now going to use sand, mud, clay, etc. to bulk this up, and that will reduce some of this flow. But you can see that this was clear before I got involved here, and now we can see the indications of flow going on. So structurally an improvement, functionally a regression. Sometimes progress is not uniformly in one direction, but this is going to be much easier to work on, and I can now take sand from up there, bring it down here, fill in the back side of this, pack some of it around the front side so that some of those sand particles can get entrained and pulled through the places where it's seeping. And then the next step is probably to take material from this side of the channel, the far side of the channel, and bring it over here. So we're just going to put a little bend away from the pond into this channel. That material will have a lot of clay in it because everything around here has a lot of clay in it, and that should give us a good sort of gumming up the works material to reduce the flow coming through here. But the key to all of this, of course, is that this is now seepage. So we're now having water seep into the pond, which hopefully will mean that out there we'll only have water seeping out of the pond. If it's not a full surface flow, if we've just reduced the rate that water is coming in to this space, that's already going to be an improvement, because the drain system that we have for the rest of the property can handle seepage. It can actually deal with water seeping out of the far side of this pond down there. It works its way down to the culverts and whatnot. It's when we have a full flow through this area, we get a full flow overtopping the bank, and then we're overtopping the road, and things are eroding and things are not great. Seepage doesn't move a lot of material, doesn't erode things, and so that is where we want to be. Okay, we're doing like windstorm adventure. Knocked my tripod over and whatnot. Also has knocked the awning over, tent over next to the house, so that's rough. But we're doing pretty good on our little dam project here. So we've got a lot of sand and clay over top of it. Still, I don't even know if that's audible, but if I'm audible at all, but definitely want to put some organic material over top of this just to prevent erosion if the rain kicks up real hard. But I gotta go up to the house and just make sure I don't lose every single thing that can catch air on the property. All right, well, it's looking like it's still holding up. Last night I hurriedly ran out here as it was beginning to rain again and just cut some grass around the area, put it over top. So now we have stones, gravel, dirt, sort of sand and a little bit of clay, and then some organic material over the top to prevent rain from eroding things. It looks like we mostly still have a dam here, so that's pretty exciting. Let's hop on over here, and at the pond side here, see the waters? It's mostly pretty still. Walk out here, things are pretty sturdy. We're not seeing tremendous obvious flows going on here. I'm sure that there's still a fair amount of water seeping in underneath the surface, but if it's seeping, that's okay, because that means it'll be seeping on the other side as well rather than flowing. So I'm gonna count this a success. So far down the road, this will probably be where a pipe goes in to allow water to flow in to fill the pond at the beginning of the wet season, that we can control so that it doesn't just overtop and start flowing elsewhere on the property. But get some good water flow here. Seems to be cruising right on by. Well, before I could get out here and redirect this stream kind of out a little bit, we got our first snow of the season. This is very unexpected. It was sunny yesterday, at least at this time. It's been a variety of weather going on here. I'm not going to hop across and get a view from the other side on account of I'm currently in my robe and jammies out here, just kind of milling around in a winter wonderland, enjoying the sights. So if I go in, it's all cotton. It's hypothermia so fast. But yeah, this seems to be holding up quite nicely. We can see the ice was able to form on the surface of the pond here just fine, so we don't have too much flow coming in, it looks like. I'm tempted to ford my way across here. We're doing it. We're doing it. We've done sillier things in life. So you can see, as we make our way across here, that it is not frozen here. So the ice starts out there, and that suggests to me that there is just enough flow still coming through here to it's not quite still enough to have ice formation in this kind of really marginal situation, right? Like this, it's not iced over, it's just a very thin film of ice that's formed on all the places that are really still. But we still have some movement here, so that's an indication we still need to keep backfilling in here, along here, take some of the mud from the bank over there, bring it along here, and hopefully start to just reduce that seepage. But again, it's not so steady a flow that it's disrupting ice formation a foot away from the dam. So we're really heading in the right direction. Now it has started to rain, which means all this snow is going to start melting. So I probably need to go indoors. It's one thing to be out in your jammies in the snow, but in the snow and the rain, it's probably a little too much. But first snow of the winter out here. Quite delightful. Gonna make it just a skosh harder to work. So I'm hoping we get enough rain to melt this off so that I can get back out here and get my choring done.